They call it America's modern muscle car icon. 700 horsepower of supercharged fury, wrapped in sheet metal that screams defiance at every stoplight. The Dodge Challenger and Charger Hellcat represents everything we love about American automotive excess: raw power, thunderous exhaust notes, and performance that embarrasses European exotics, costing 3 times as much. But there's a darker side to this legend, a crisis unfolding in driveways and parking lots across the nation. Hellcats are being stolen at a rate that defies belief, 60 times higher than the average vehicle, vanishing in broad daylight, disappearing from test drives, even taken at gunpoint while owners pump gas. This isn't about random car thieves looking for joyrides. This is organized crime, sophisticated theft rings, and a black market so lucrative that a single Hellcat can generate tens of thousands of dollars in stolen parts before the owner even realizes it's gone. The question isn't whether Hellcats are being stolen, it's why they've become the most hunted vehicles in America, and what that says about the intersection of performance, crime, and the American obsession with horsepower. Here's the kicker. The very things that make Hellcats legendary are precisely what make them irresistible to thieves. And that's where the story really begins. To understand why Hellcats are disappearing at an alarming rate, you need to understand what makes them special in the first place. In 2015, Dodge did something that seemed insane by modern automotive standards. They built a production car with over 700 horsepower and priced it where normal people could actually afford it. The Challenger SRT Hellcat arrived with a supercharged 6.2-liter Hemi V8, producing 707 horsepower and 650 foot-pounds of torque. These weren't numbers you'd find in some limited edition hypercar. This was a production vehicle you could order at your local Dodge dealer, finance like any other car, and drive home the same day. The engine featured a massive IHI supercharger sitting atop the HEMI block, force-feeding air into 8 cylinders and creating a supercharger whine that became instantly recognizable. The supercharger spun at over 14,000 revolutions per minute, compressing incoming air before forcing it through dual intercoolers to reduce temperatures and maximize density. 0 to 60 miles per hour happened in around 3.6 seconds, and top speed approached 200 miles per hour in certain configurations. The Hellcat could run the quarter mile in the mid-11-second range straight from the factory, performance that embarrassed dedicated sports cars, costing twice as much. Dodge followed the Challenger with a Charger Hellcat, bringing that same insane power to a 4-door sedan that could haul the family and still humiliate Corvettes at stoplights. The Charger version proved even more popular in certain markets, appealing to buyers who needed practicality but refused to sacrifice performance. The pricing strategy was brilliant and dangerous. Starting around $60,000, the Hellcat undercut European performance cars by massive margins, while delivering horsepower numbers that made those expensive imports look underpowered. The value proposition was staggering. For the price of a well-equipped BMW 340i, buyers got nearly double the horsepower and straight-line performance that rivaled 6-figure exotics. This was classic American thinking. Why engineer sophisticated handling when you can just add more power? The Hellcat became an instant icon, a throwback to the golden age of muscle cars, when manufacturers competed on raw cubic inches and horsepower figures that made insurance companies nervous. The media coverage was immediate and extensive. Automotive journalists couldn't believe Dodge had actually built something this outrageous for public consumption. Dodge wasn't trying to build the most refined performance car. They were building the most American performance car, the kind that announces its presence 3 blocks away and apologizes to absolutely nobody. The exhaust note at full throttle was genuinely deafening, a mechanical roar punctuated by supercharger whine that could trigger car alarms in parking garages. The engine came with 2 key fobs, a red one that unlocked full power and a black one that limited output to 500 horsepower for valet parking or inexperienced drivers. This detail perfectly captured the Hellcat's philosophy, acknowledging the absurdity while embracing it completely. The early Hellcats were relatively straightforward mechanically, which would later contribute to their theft problem. The supercharged Hemi used a 2.4-liter IHI supercharger, spinning at over 14,000 revolutions per minute, compressing air and feeding it through intercoolers before it entered the combustion chambers. The engine block was forged steel, designed to handle stresses that would destroy lesser engines. The connecting rods were forged, the pistons were designed for forced induction, and the crankshaft was built to survive the kind of abuse that Hellcat owners would inevitably inflict. The cylinder heads featured high-flow ports and strengthened valve seats, capable of handling the increased cylinder pressures that supercharging created. The transmission options included a 6-speed manual or an 8-speed automatic, both engineered specifically to handle the HEMI's massive torquey output. The automatic was particularly popular. It could shift faster than any human, and it allowed the Hellcat to launch with brutal efficiency. The ZF 8-speed transmission featured paddle shifters and multiple drive modes, allowing drivers to tailor shift characteristics to their preferences or driving conditions. The suspension was upgraded with stiffer springs, larger anti-roll bars, and adaptive dampers that could adjust to road conditions in milliseconds. The Bilstein dampers could firm up for aggressive cornering or soften for highway cruising, providing versatility that earlier muscle cars never offered. The brakes were massive, 6-piston Brembo calipers up front, clamping down on 15-inch rotors, necessary to stop a 4,000-pound car from triple-digit speeds. The rear brakes used 4-piston calipers and 14-inch rotors, creating a brake system that could handle repeated high-speed stops without fade. The styling was aggressive but retained classic muscle car proportions: long hood, short deck, wide stance. The Challenger's retro design language referenced the original 1970s Challenger, while the Charger brought modern interpretation to the classic 4-door muscle car formula. The hood featured a functional air scoop that fed the supercharger, creating a distinctive profile that announced Hellcat presence from blocks away. The fender badges and special wheels identified Hellcats to those who knew what to look for, creating instant recognition among enthusiasts. But here's what made these cars vulnerable. Despite their advanced performance, the security systems were conventional. The key fobs used standard encryption that skilled thieves learned to defeat. The immobilizer system could be bypassed with readily available electronic tools. Thieves discovered they could use laptop computers running specific software to override factory security protocols in minutes. The cars didn't have sophisticated tracking systems as standard equipment. GPS tracking was available as an aftermarket addition through various services, but Dodge didn't integrate advanced anti-theft technology into the base vehicle design. Dodge focused on performance and value, which meant security features that would have added cost were considered optional extras. The company assumed that buyers prioritized horsepower over security, a calculation that proved correct for sales, but disastrous for theft prevention. The physical door locks were conventional cylinder locks that experienced thieves could pick or bypass using techniques developed decades earlier. The ignition system, despite being push-button start, relied on proximity sensors that could be fooled by signal amplification devices. The OnStar-like telematics system offered by Dodge provided some tracking capability, but subscription rates were low because owners saw it as an unnecessary expense. The parking brake was electronic rather than mechanical, meaning thieves who gained access to the vehicle's computer systems could release it remotely. This would prove to be a catastrophic oversight that would cost owners, insurance companies, and Dodge's reputation dearly in the years to come. By 2017, Hellcats were everywhere. Dodge sold them in numbers that shocked industry analysts who thought 700 horsepower cars would be niche products. But Americans loved them. Young buyers financed them with subprime loans, attracted by the horsepower bragging rights. Enthusiasts bought them as weekend toys, appreciating the performance value. Even older buyers, remembers of the original muscle car era, bought Hellcats as tributes to the cars of their youth. The aftermarket exploded with Hellcat parts and upgrades. Tuners discovered the supercharged Hemi could handle significantly more power with simple modifications. Pulley swaps increased boost pressure. Dyno runs proved the factory rating of 707 horsepower was conservative. Actual output often exceeded 750 horsepower at the wheels. The social media presence grew exponentially. YouTube filled with Hellcat videos, drag races, burnout compilations, highway rolls, exhaust sound clips. Instagram became a showcase for modified Hellcats, each trying to outdo the others with wider tires, louder exhausts, and bigger numbers. The cars became status symbols, particularly in urban communities where automotive culture emphasized power and presence. Dodge responded to the demand with variants. The Hellcat widebody added fender flares and wider tires for improved traction. The Demon arrived in 2018 with 840 horsepower, designed specifically for drag racing with features like a trans brake and skinny front wheels to reduce weight. The Red Eye came in 2019 with 797 horsepower, splitting the difference between standard Hellcat and full Demon. Each variant commanded premium prices, and each sold out quickly. The second-hand market stayed strong. Used Hellcats held their value remarkably well, with low-mileage examples sometimes selling for more than their original sticker price. This combination of high value, strong demand, and weak security created perfect conditions for organized theft operations. The theft epidemic started gradually, then exploded. In 2020, insurance industry data revealed something alarming. Dodge Charger and Challenger Hellcats had theft claim frequencies 60 times higher than the average vehicle. 60 times. This wasn't a minor statistical anomaly. This was a crisis. The Highway Loss Data Institute, which tracks insurance claims, showed that 2020 through 2022, Hellcats were being stolen at rates that exceeded any other vehicle class. Law enforcement agencies across the country reported similar trends. Hellcats were disappearing from driveways, parking lots, apartment complexes, even dealerships. The thefts weren't random. These were organized operations targeting specific vehicles with specific methods. Thieves identified Hellcats through social media posts, tracking owners who publicly displayed their cars online. Instagram became an inadvertent surveillance tool for criminals, with owners posting photos that revealed where they lived, where they worked, and where they parked. Apartment complexes became prime hunting grounds. Cars parked in unsecured lots, often far from owners' units, sitting overnight with minimal surveillance. The lack of dedicated garages made apartment-dwelling Hellcat owners especially vulnerable, forcing them to leave $70,000 vehicles in open parking areas, accessible to anyone. The theft methods were brazen and sophisticated. In some cases, thieves used electronic devices to intercept and clone key fob signals, allowing them to unlock and start Hellcats without physical keys. These relay attack devices could capture the signal from a key fob inside an owner's home and transmit it to an accomplice standing next to the Hellcat, fooling the car into thinking the legitimate key was present. In other cases, they simply towed the vehicles away using flatbed trucks, operating in broad daylight with such confidence that witnesses assumed they were legitimate towing companies. The thieves wore reflective vests and used professional-looking equipment, creating an appearance of legitimacy that prevented intervention. Test drive thefts became common. Criminals would schedule test drives at dealerships, then speed away in Hellcats, leaving salespeople standing in parking lots. Some used fake identification and contacted dealerships from burner phones, making them nearly impossible to track after the theft. Carjackings increased, with thieves approaching Hellcat owners at gas stations, shopping centers, even in driveways, demanding keys at gunpoint. The violence escalated as the car's value increased, with some victims physically assaulted when they hesitated to surrender their vehicles. Reports emerged of thieves following Hellcat owners from car meets or shows, tracking them to their homes and returning later to steal the vehicles. The violence escalated as the car's value increased. Police recovered stolen Hellcats in various states of dismantlement. Some were found completely stripped, engines removed, transmissions gone, body panels missing, interiors gutted. The speed of dismantlement was shocking. A stolen Hellcat could be reduced to a bare shell in less than 2 hours by experienced chop shop operators. Sophisticated operations used specialized tools and lifts, working with assembly line efficiency to extract every valuable component. Other recovered Hellcats showed evidence of export preparation, destined for international markets where American muscle cars command premium prices. Shipping containers were discovered at ports containing multiple stolen Hellcats, prepared for overseas transport, their VIN numbers ground off and documentation forged. The geographic spread of thefts followed predictable patterns. Urban areas with high concentrations of Hellcat ownership saw the most thefts, particularly cities like Detroit, Atlanta, Miami, Los Angeles, and Houston. Suburban areas weren't immune. Thieves followed Hellcats from cities to suburbs, targeting vehicles in neighborhoods where residents assumed they were safe. Some recovered vehicles showed evidence of being used in other crimes before being abandoned or sold for parts, with Hellcats appearing in police reports for street racing, drug trafficking, and even armed robberies. The theft rings operated across state lines, stealing Hellcats in one state and dismantling them in another, complicating law enforcement jurisdiction and making prosecution difficult. The criminal infrastructure supporting Hellcat theft is sophisticated and organized. Multi-state theft rings operate with business-like efficiency, identifying targets, stealing vehicles, transporting them to chop shops, and distributing parts through established black market channels. The economics are compelling for criminals. A complete supercharged Hemi engine can fetch $20,000 or more on the black market. The transmission adds another $5,000. Body panels, particularly the distinctive Hellcat hood and fenders, sell for thousands. The wheels and Brembo brake systems have significant value. A single stolen Hellcat, properly dismantled and sold piecemeal, can generate $40,000 to $50,000 in illegal profit. Compare that to the risk of stealing multiple cheaper vehicles, and the appeal becomes obvious. The parts market exists because Hellcat owners modify their cars aggressively, creating demand for replacement components. Crash damage creates additional demand. Repairing a wrecked Hellcat through insurance channels is expensive, but buying stolen parts off the internet is cheap. Unscrupulous repair shops purchase stolen components, knowing they're getting deals too good to be legitimate, but asking no questions. The international market adds another dimension. Hellcats are rare outside North America, making them valuable in markets where American muscle cars are status symbols. Shipping containers loaded with stolen Hellcat parts leave American ports regularly, bound for overseas buyers who pay premium prices. Law enforcement struggles to keep pace. Vehicle theft task forces exist in major metropolitan areas, but they're often underfunded and overwhelmed. Tracking stolen Hellcats across state lines requires coordination between multiple agencies, which is complicated and time-consuming. Chop shops operate in industrial areas where nobody questions automotive work happening inside closed garages. By the time police identify a chop shop and raid it, the operation has often moved to a new location. The criminals adapt quickly, changing methods when law enforcement develops countermeasures. Social media's role in the epidemic cannot be overstated. Platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube became showcases for Hellcat theft. With criminals posting videos of their crimes, these videos serve multiple purposes. They build clout within criminal communities, they attract new recruits, and they create a culture that glorifies car theft as exciting and profitable. Young viewers watch these videos and see fast cars, easy money, and street credibility. The videos rarely show the consequences: arrests, prison sentences, victims suffering. The algorithm-driven nature of social media means theft content reaches wider audiences than ever before. A video of someone stealing a Hellcat can accumulate millions of views, generating advertising revenue for platforms while inspiring copycat crimes. The comment sections fill with encouragement, with viewers treating theft like entertainment rather than crime. Some thieves became minor celebrities within certain online communities, building follower counts by posting stolen vehicle content. Law enforcement attempted to use social media as an investigative tool, monitoring accounts that post theft content and building cases against suspects. But the sheer volume of content and the ease of creating anonymous accounts make this approach difficult. By the time police identify a suspect through social media, that person has often committed multiple thefts and disposed of stolen vehicles. The cultural impact extends beyond direct theft. Music videos feature Hellcats prominently, often with lyrics referencing theft and illegal activity. The cars became symbols in certain genres, representing success achieved outside legitimate channels. This cultural association further normalizes theft in communities where Hellcats are already targets. Dodge and the insurance industry attempted various responses to the crisis. Some insurance companies raised Hellcat premiums to astronomical levels. In high theft areas, insuring a Hellcat could cost more than insuring 3 normal vehicles combined. Other insurers simply refused to write policies for Hellcats in certain zip codes, deeming them uninsurable risks. This created a secondary problem. Buyers couldn't get financing without insurance, so new Hellcat sales dropped in markets with high theft rates. Dodge implemented some security improvements in later model years. The 2021 and newer Hellcats included slightly improved immobilizer systems, though these remained vulnerable to determined thieves with proper equipment. The company recommended owners install aftermarket security devices, steering wheel locks, kill switches, GPS tracking systems. But these measures felt inadequate given the scale of the problem. Some dealerships began installing security systems before delivery, adding the cost to the vehicle price but providing at least some additional protection. Dodge offered owner education programs about theft prevention, though attendance was voluntary and many buyers never participated. The company recommended owners avoid posting photos of their Hellcats on social media with location data visible, advice that went largely unheeded. Some owners took extreme security measures. They installed multiple tracking devices, hidden in different locations throughout the vehicle. They used steering wheel locks and brake pedal locks simultaneously. They parked Hellcats in garages whenever possible. And when garage parking wasn't available, they removed fuses to disable starting systems. Some owners even installed manual kill switches that interrupted fuel or ignition systems, requiring knowledge of hidden switch locations to start the car. The most paranoid owners installed hidden cameras in their garages and driveways, creating surveillance systems specifically to monitor their Hellcats. Despite these efforts, thefts continued. Sophisticated theft rings adapted to security measures, developing techniques to defeat aftermarket systems. The GPS trackers helped recovery efforts, but often police found vehicles too late, already stripped in chop shops by the time tracking data led investigators to their locations. Some thieves discovered common hiding spots for GPS trackers and removed them immediately after theft, leaving vehicles untraceable. The cat-and-mouse game between security technology and theft techniques created an arms race that owners were slowly losing, despite spending thousands on protective measures. The human cost of Hellcat theft extends beyond financial loss. Owners describe the violation they feel when their cars are stolen. Not just the loss of property, but the invasion of privacy and security. Many Hellcat owners bought their cars as dream vehicles, saving for years to afford them. Having those dreams stolen, sometimes violently, creates trauma that extends far beyond the vehicle's monetary value. The recovery process is lengthy and frustrating. Even when stolen Hellcats are recovered, they're often severely damaged or completely stripped. Insurance settlements rarely cover the full replacement cost, especially for modified vehicles where aftermarket parts aren't fully covered. Owners find themselves underwater on loans for vehicles they no longer possess. The emotional toll includes fear and hypervigilance, constantly checking on parked cars, installing security cameras, losing sleep worrying about theft. Some owners sold their Hellcats simply because the stress of ownership outweighed the enjoyment. Others refused to drive their cars to certain areas, limiting when and where they used vehicles they bought specifically for driving pleasure. Communities affected by Hellcat theft rings experienced broader impacts. Chop shop operations brought criminal activity into neighborhoods, with associated violence and property crime. Police resources devoted to vehicle theft meant fewer resources for other crimes. The presence of stolen vehicles and parts created underground economies that funded other illegal activities. Law enforcement's successes in breaking up theft rings provided temporary relief, but rarely solved the underlying problem. Major busts in cities like Detroit, Atlanta, and Los Angeles resulted in dozens of arrests and recovery of millions of dollars in stolen vehicles and parts. These operations revealed the scale and sophistication of theft organizations. Some had been operating for years, stealing hundreds of vehicles, employing dozens of people in various roles, from thieves to chop shop operators to parts sellers. Court proceedings revealed the business models these organizations used. They operated like legitimate businesses with hierarchies, specialized roles, and profit-sharing arrangements. Some theft ring leaders never personally stole vehicles. They managed operations from a distance, insulating themselves from direct criminal liability. The foot soldiers, who actually stole cars, were often young and expendable, easily replaced when arrested. The chop shop operators possessed genuine mechanical skills, capable of dismantling Hellcats with impressive speed and efficiency. The sentences handed down in successful prosecutions varied widely. Some defendants received significant prison time, particularly those with prior criminal records, or those involved in violent carjackings. Others received relatively light sentences through plea agreements, where they provided information on larger operations. The justice system struggled to treat vehicle theft with appropriate seriousness, despite the high dollar values involved. Many prosecutors and judges viewed car theft as less serious than other property crimes. The Hellcat theft epidemic raises broader questions about American car culture and criminal economics. These vehicles represent a perfect storm of factors that attract theft: high value, strong demand, weak security, and cultural cachet. The supercharged Hemi engine became a status symbol, making Hellcats targets regardless of security measures. The car's performance capabilities made them desirable to criminals who could sell them or part them out for substantial profits. The relative ease of theft, compared to potential profits, created irresistible incentives. The situation also exposed vulnerabilities in automotive security that extend beyond Hellcats. Many modern vehicles use electronic systems that skilled thieves can compromise. The convenience features consumers demand. Keyless entry, push-button start, remote start create security vulnerabilities. Manufacturers face difficult trade-offs between convenience, cost, and security. Adding sophisticated anti-theft systems increases vehicle prices, potentially reducing sales. But inadequate security creates theft problems that damage brand reputation and increase insurance costs for consumers. The Hellcat story illustrates how quickly criminals adapt to opportunities. When high-value targets with weak security appear, organized theft operations emerge rapidly. The same patterns appeared with other vehicles. Certain Honda and Acura models in the 1990s, Dodge Ram trucks in the 2000s, and now Hellcats. Each wave follows similar patterns: initial thefts, recognition of opportunity, organized operations, and eventually law enforcement response and manufacturer security improvements. The cycle repeats with new targets as older models receive better security or become less valuable. The automotive industry's response time typically lags years behind criminal innovation, leaving owners vulnerable during the gap. Consumer awareness of theft risks rarely influences purchasing decisions until after someone personally experiences theft or knows someone who has. The cultural desire for high-performance vehicles consistently outweighs rational security concerns, ensuring that the next generation of desirable cars will face similar challenges. Dodge discontinued Hellcat production after the 2023 model year, ending an 8-year run that produced some of the most powerful and most stolen vehicles in American automotive history. The decision wasn't directly related to theft problems. Changing emissions regulations and corporate strategy toward electrification played larger roles, but the theft epidemic certainly contributed to the Hellcat's complicated legacy. The final Hellcats rolled off assembly lines with theft statistics that remained stubbornly high. The last model year included special editions and commemoration packages acknowledging the Hellcat's place in automotive history. Dodge marketed these final cars to enthusiasts who understood the risks but wanted to own a piece of muscle car history before it disappeared. The transition to electric performance vehicles represents a fundamental shift in automotive culture. The upcoming electric Dodge muscle cars promise comparable or superior performance numbers, but they won't have supercharged HEMI engines. They won't produce the sound that made Hellcats instantly recognizable. They'll represent a different era of performance, one focused on instant electric torque rather than traditional American displacement and forced induction. Whether electric muscle cars will face similar theft problems remains to be seen. Electric powertrains have different black market values than traditional engines. The batteries and motors may be less desirable to thieves than HEMI engines. But if the vehicles maintain high values and develop cultural cachet similar to Hellcats, theft problems may simply evolve rather than disappear. The Hellcat legacy is complicated and contradictory. These cars represented everything great about American automotive excess: outrageous power, accessible pricing, unapologetic attitude. They brought 700-plus horsepower to the masses, democratizing performance in ways that hadn't been possible since the original muscle car era. They created memories for owners who experienced acceleration and speed unavailable in previous generations of affordable cars. They proved American manufacturers could still build exciting vehicles in an era of increasing regulation and electrification. But Hellcats also became symbols of vulnerability and criminal opportunity. Their theft rates exposed security weaknesses and created insurance nightmares. They fueled organized crime operations and social media content that glorified illegal activity. They cost owners not just financially but emotionally, creating fear and frustration that overshadowed the joy these cars were meant to provide. The enthusiast community continues to celebrate Hellcats despite the theft problems. Car shows feature pristine examples, often with extensive security measures visible: steering wheel locks, GPS tracker stickers, even armed security in some cases. Online forums discuss security strategies alongside performance modifications. Hellcat owners have formed tight communities, sharing information about thefts, security products, and recovery efforts. The cars that survive unmolested are becoming increasingly valuable. Low-mileage Hellcats in original condition command premium prices in collector markets. Special editions like the Demon and Final Year commemorative models are treated as investments, stored in climate-controlled garages and rarely driven. This creates its own irony. Cars built for aggressive performance become garage queens, protected from theft by never being driven. The stolen Hellcats that were never recovered remain in circulation somewhere. Some were completely parted out, their components scattered across the country in other vehicles. Others may still exist in international markets, bearing false identification and new histories. The supercharged HEMI engines that powered them continue running, producing their distinctive whine in vehicles whose origins nobody questions. The insurance industry continues to grapple with Hellcat theft data. The statistics remain stark. These cars are stolen at rates that defy normal actuarial calculations. Insurers have developed specific protocols for Hellcat policies, requiring security measures and applying surcharges based on geographic risk. The precedent Hellcat set will influence how insurers approach future high-performance vehicles. Law enforcement agencies incorporated lessons from Hellcat theft investigations into broader vehicle theft strategies. The multi-state coordination required to combat organized theft rings improved communication between agencies. The chop shop investigations revealed techniques applicable to other types of organized crime, but the resources required to effectively combat vehicle theft remain limited, and new targets will emerge as criminal organizations adapt. For the owners who lost Hellcats to theft, the experience remains painful. Some replaced their stolen vehicles with other cars, unable to afford another Hellcat or unwilling to risk repeating the experience. Others bought replacement Hellcats with enhanced security, refusing to let criminals dictate their automotive choices. A few left the muscle car world entirely, concluding that the risks outweighed the rewards. The social media documentation of Hellcat culture continues to grow even after production ended. Videos of surviving Hellcats accumulate views, preserving the sound and fury of these machines for audiences who may never experience them in person. The theft videos remain visible too, controversial reminders of the dark side of automotive desirability. The comment sections continue to debate whether the cars themselves or the security failures are ultimately responsible for the theft epidemic. The story of Hellcat theft is ultimately a story about American excess meeting American crime. We built cars with outrageous power and accessible prices, creating dreams that were within reach for regular people. But we didn't protect those dreams adequately, allowing criminal organizations to exploit vulnerabilities and steal those dreams faster than we could build them. The 700-plus horsepower became a liability, making the cars too valuable, too desirable, too easy to monetize illegally. The theft epidemic didn't diminish what Hellcats achieved as performance vehicles. They remain remarkable machines that delivered supercar performance at muscle car prices. They created experiences and memories for hundreds of thousands of owners. They proved American manufacturers could still build exciting, powerful, culturally relevant vehicles in the 21st century. But the theft problem will forever be part of the Hellcat story, a reminder that building something desirable means building something worth stealing. The future of American muscle cars faces uncertainty in an electrifying automotive landscape. The Hellcat represented perhaps the last gasp of traditional American performance philosophy. Massive displacement, forced induction, straight-line speed prioritized above all else. The electric performance cars replacing them will be faster, more efficient, and possibly more secure. But they won't be Hellcats. They won't have superchargers whining above V8 thunder. They won't represent the same rebellious spirit, the same middle finger to efficiency and restraint. Whatever comes next will be its own thing, judged by its own standards, and the Hellcats that survive will become increasingly precious, rolling pieces of automotive history that represent a very specific moment, when 700 horsepower was available to anyone with decent credit, and when that accessibility created both joy and crime in equal measure. Have you owned a Hellcat? Did you experience the theft anxiety that plagued so many owners? Or did you avoid them entirely because the risk seemed too great? The Hellcat story isn't over. These cars will continue appearing in enthusiast collections, at car shows, and unfortunately in theft statistics for years to come. Understanding why they became targets helps us appreciate both their achievement and their vulnerability. If you found this deep dive into Hellcat theft culture valuable, subscribe for more stories about American automotive history, the machines we love, and the complicated realities they create. The intersection of performance, crime, and culture tells us as much about ourselves as it does about the cars we build.